Hey Minimizers, you're getting ready to watch some footage from one of the Minimalist live events. If you'd like to see us on the road, head on over to theminimalists.com to find a city near you. Or you can watch recordings of all of our live events over at patreon.com/theminimalists. Enjoy.
Hey, it's Wes.
Hey Wes, what's on your mind?
So I've heard it put by Rich Roll, we are either growing or regressing. As a minimalist, when you are working to meet your personal goals, spiritual, physical, financial, how do you continue to have peace and be content in the present moment while working on your future goals?
Okay, I heard a lot of words here. And I'm going to talk about them individually.
Okay.
And TK, maybe you can help. We can go do a back and forth between the three of us here. So the first word, I heard Rich Roll is a really good friend of ours. He's been on our podcast the second most times next to TK Coleman. And are you either growing or regressing? I don't like the framing of that at all. Maybe in context it makes a whole lot more sense, but there are two types of growth, right? We talk about this in the book as well. So there is growth for the sake of growth, never-ending GDP. We need to grow, expand more at any cost, right? Okay, that sounds like cancer to me. That's what cancer does. It grows no matter what. So we think of growth as it being good. Growth isn't inherently good or bad. The question is it growth for the sake of growth? If so, why? Or is it intentional growth? Is there a reason that I want to grow? And I also heard something about goals and how to, and so we can talk about some of these other things here as well.
Yeah, man. So I think about this verse in the Bible that says it's better to give than to receive. And I remember thinking the first time I heard that, like, that's totally not true. It's so better to receive than to give. We all know that, you know. But I think what it means is that to receive is to be in a consciousness of lack. To receive is to say, I need, and you're identified with a state of need. It's impossible to give without thinking of yourself as someone who has something to offer. And so I think the meaning there is it is always better to carry yourself with a consciousness of abundance, seeing yourself as having something to offer anyone and everyone that you meet, no matter what the circumstances and conditions of your life are, than to see yourself as someone who is constantly at the mercy of what other people do for you. What does that have to do with growth? I think there are two models for growth. One is you can grow from a state of lack. I'm trying to grow because I'm not worth anything. I'm trying to grow because I'm not good enough. I'm trying to grow because until I get that level of income, or until I acquire those things, or until I achieve that level of status, I won't be a player in the game. I won't be worth anything. Or you can grow from a state of abundance and say, I am already all that I need to be, and I am seeking to grow not in order to become that which I am not, but in order to manifest what I already am. So my growth is not an intaking, my growth is an outpouring. And I think that kind of growth is healthy. So are you growing from a state of trying to achieve worthiness, or are you growing from a state of self-acceptance where you are seeking to generously, how do you say it, generously
Sean will edit that out.
share who you are with other people?
Oh, man. It's interesting. I'll highlight what Milburn has said about, minimalism. It's not about the doing minimalism. It's about the not doing. So, I don't have advice on how do you do minimalism, but also work towards your goals and achievements. And that sounds really stressful to me, actually. I'm not going to lie. But and that's not a judgment. It just is. But yeah, the whole point is to stop the doing. If I was to tell you, TK, be in the moment right now.
Hurry.
Right. No, you're not being in the moment.
I'm everywhere but the moment.
Oh, the moment's already gone. Right, exactly. That's exactly right. You are everywhere but the moment when you're trying to be in the moment. And I think, when it comes to achievements and success, and success is something I chased so much in my mid-20s, and maybe I would get a little bit of it, but as soon as you get some of it, you want more, especially if you are chasing success. So for me, I had to redefine really what success was in a way. I don't really call it success. It's really it's living a meaningful life. It's being a genuine person. It's being myself. I mean, when you look in the mirror, what do you think?
So do you have goals and achievements for yourself?
Oh,
No.
man. Yeah.
No?
No.
No, I haven't had goals in 10 years.
What do you mean?
But you don't want to sell like a certain amount of books, and you
No.
don't want
Oh.
to do a certain amount of tours.
No.
But our whole that's a great question though.
I'm just
No,
curious.
it's a very good question because you would think there would be some type of metric or like how many followers or how many
Right.
downloads. These things are great, and like I don't look at them too much because I'm a numbers guy, and I actually obviously from my talk you could tell I'm a numbers guy, and I love the numbers. So if I was to look at those on a regular basis, I would start to fixate on them. So I avoid that because I know that's one of my weaknesses. But our whole philosophy really is low expectations, high standards. Low expectations, high standards. So what that means, like with this book, for example, is like we really wanted to write a book, a relationship book, not just about people, but about these important relationships in our lives. And we really wanted to show how having a healthy relationship with these 7 things in our lives, how that can really help us live a meaningful life. People ask us all the time, hey man, I get it. You had success, you had the money, you had the cars, whatever it was. I get it. It doesn't make you happy, but I just want to try it out for myself. And I don't know why I still want to try it out for myself, but I just want to try it out for myself. It reminds me of my favorite philosopher, Jim Carrey. What does he say? I wish everyone could be rich and famous so they could see that that's not the answer. And when someone would ask me that, how do I get rid of that desire? I didn't really know how to answer that. There's not a lightning round or a pithy answer that I could say, like, well, here's how you stop those desires. But through this book, like that is where I saw an opportunity. I'm like, oh, like when we can focus on these things, which take no money, by the way, all these things we can focus on with time and attention, that is when those desires will start to fade away a little bit. So that you can see like why we wrote this book. So that was our goal, if you want to call it a goal. I'm happy to call it a goal. We did that with our best ability in the best way we could, with the best words we could. We formatted it. We made it as beautiful as we could. Our standard was super high with this book, but our expectation was so low. If it was just one person who read it and was like, I really enjoyed that book, that would have been worth it. Heck, if I would have read it and been like, oh, this is a good book, that would have been worth it. But to sit here and be like, oh, we got to be on, I don't even want to mention this because it sounds like kind of braggadocious, but we did make the New York Times bestseller list, okay? But you know what that
No,
means?
stop. It's ridiculous. People they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to be on that list. They game the system. We didn't, but like, it doesn't matter. It's not important.
I was going to talk about Josh's reaction, and you're seeing it right now.
Here's the problem. No, the honest answer to your question, and I'm not prescribing this to you. I'm not saying don't have goals. I'm not saying that they're useless for you. I'm saying they're a problem for me. And here's why they're a problem. I was the goal guy in the corporate world. And I had spreadsheets of goals. Here are the 24 goals and sub-goals to the goals. And they stressed me out. They made me miserable because I could figure out how to achieve those goals, but the how-to is the thing that keeps me stressed out. Why? Because I was so focused on becoming, I had no idea what it meant to be. I was becoming the person I thought I wanted to become, but throughout that process, there was very little being me. And as soon as you become that thing, you get the promotion that you want or the car that you want or the so-called success that you want. We did this exercise last night in Atlanta. I said to the crowd, describe a wealthy person. Or a successful person rather. Anytime I do this, it's always the same answers. If I show you a magazine ad with a successful person, what's it look like? It's a guy usually in a suit with a luxury car and a yacht and a Rolex. It's always a watch of some sort, right? They always look the same, and there's nothing inherently wrong with those things. We all need some stuff. And by the way, it's not that Lexus is a bad thing. I'm sure they make wonderful cars. I used to own 2 of them because I felt inadequate. And so we do a lot of things. Why? Because we feel inadequate. And we want other people's approval or praise or adulation or validation in order to say, you know what, I am adequate. But that's a chase. All these things we're talking about, We can use fancy, nice words, goals, like, oh, that's a good thing. Let's call it what it is. It's a chase. It's striving. It's an attachment to an outcome. And those are the things that make me miserable.
Yeah.
I want to. Oh,
Less
go ahead.
less about achievements and goals and more about living a meaningful life.
For sure, man.
Living, like right now living. Like I'm so grateful to be here. And whether there was, 1,000 people or 3 people here, we've done tour stops literally where 2 people showed up. Knoxville 10 years ago.
I miss those days.
2 people showed up.
Did you still do it?
Those
Hell
days.
yeah, we did. And it was one of the best tour stops we've ever had. Why?
Yeah.
High standard, low expectation.
That's right.
Hey, I just want to tell you, man, like, you are a beautiful human being, man. And, like, no matter what your goals are, that's cool, man. But you don't need those goals to be a beautiful human being. Because I'll tell you that when I was in the corporate world chasing the success, and what really got me started on the road of minimalism is I couldn't look in the mirror anymore. Having all that success, having the cars and the house and the vacations and the raises and the management and the employees and my employees, like that didn't help me see any better of a person in the mirror. And so there's nothing wrong with these accolades. There's nothing wrong with these, it doesn't bother me we made it on the New York Times bestseller list. I think it's pretty freaking cool, but that's not why we did it. But when that becomes the why, when all those things become the why, it's really hard to look in the mirror.
Thank you guys, and thanks for being in Nashville.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.
I just want to say something to him about this goals and ambition thing. Is I think an important question to always be asking yourself is, what game am I playing? Am I playing a game that expresses my aliveness, a game that I've created for myself? Or am I playing a game that someone else created for me and I'm hustling really hard to try to win prizes that I don't really care about? There's a book by James P. Carse called Finite and Infinite Games, and there's a line in there that's so beautiful where he says, the first rule of play is that he who must play cannot play. If you are compelled to play from some externally directed force, then it's not play. It's not a game. And it feels stressful, it feels compulsive, it feels unhealthy, and you resent it. And so many people, their goals are unhealthy because they're playing games that other people want them to play, which means they're not experiencing these games as play. But as human beings, it's our nature to play. The moment our needs are met, the first thing we do is we find a game to play. We create goals that are unimportant, but that are still worth doing, because the essence of play is not to do something because it's important in some external sense, but because it expresses our joy. And so whatever you do in life, like, it's okay to say, here's something that I haven't done and I want to do it. Here's a place that I haven't gone and I want to go. But go and do and create and be and seek after things for the purpose of playfully expressing who you are, not for the purpose of pleasing somebody that when it really comes down to it, you don't even care about, and they don't even represent your own priorities and principles.
Did you enjoy this video? If so, you can listen to full episodes of the Minimalists private podcast available exclusively on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/theminimalists today. Your support keeps our podcast and YouTube channel 100% advertisement free.